Ever feel like your analytical mind is a superpower, but sometimes it overthinks everything? What if I told you there's an ancient philosophy perfectly tailored to an INTJ's drive for mastery and logical control? This video isn't just about stoicism. It's about unlocking a profound inner strength that will transform how you navigate the world as an INTJ. From the outside, INTJs already seem unshakable, quiet, calculating, and almost eerily composed. But inside that structured mind is a storm of thoughts, predictions, analyses, and silent frustrations. The world often assumes INTJs don't feel much, when in reality, they feel deeply. They just refuse to be ruled by emotions they don't fully understand. This is where Stoicism comes in, not as a cage to suppress feelings, but as a blueprint for mastering them. Imagine an INTJ reading Marcus Aurelius for the first time and realizing every sentence feels like a message addressed directly to them. The emphasis on inner strength, rational thinking, and focusing on what you can control instantly resonates with an INTJ's instinctive worldview. It's as if an ancient Roman emperor somehow understood the mind of the modern architect personality, centuries before MBTI ever existed. Stoicism doesn't ask the INTJ to become someone else. It simply sharpens what already makes them powerful. The truth is, INTJs live with a paradox: the desire to perfect everything while knowing perfection is unattainable. They crave control but constantly encounter chaos. Their minds can strategize at a level most people never reach, yet that same gift can trap them in cycles of overthinking and self-criticism. Stoicism speaks directly to this paradox and gently untangles it. It offers an INTJ something they rarely find: freedom. Freedom from the nonsense they cannot control. Freedom from reacting emotionally to things that drain their energy. Freedom from expecting people to think or behave at their level of logic. For the INTJ, Stoicism becomes a way of clearing the mental whiteboard, leaving only what truly matters. At the core of this connection is the INTJ's relentless drive for mastery. Whether it's mastering a subject, a skill, or even themselves, INTJs thrive when they can improve something. Stoicism elevates this drive by suggesting that the highest form of mastery is mastery over the mind. Not controlling others. Not forcing outcomes. But commanding your own inner world. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all repeated this truth: your mind is your kingdom. Everything else is borrowed space. This aligns perfectly with the INTJ who prefers autonomy, independence, and efficiency. Stoicism hands them the ultimate project, themselves, and says, build something unshakable. Yet there is another side to the INTJ experience that often goes unspoken. Their brilliant minds can betray them. When INTJs overthink, their internal world becomes cluttered with worst-case scenarios, idealistic expectations, and emotion disguised as logic. Stoicism brings order to this mental chaos by teaching the art of separating what is within one's control from what isn't. For an INTJ, this is like finding a cheat code to peace. Instead of trying to predict every outcome, Stoicism encourages them to focus only on their choices, their behavior, their reactions. Everything else, the opinions of others, unpredictable changes, irrational people, gets thrown into a mental fire pit labeled, not my problem. But the most transformative part is this. Stoicism doesn't tell INTJs to disconnect from emotion. It teaches them to understand emotion without being consumed by it. This is crucial, because despite their reputation, INTJs are not robots. They feel deeply but often struggle to process those feelings in real time. Stoicism becomes the missing framework. It says, feel everything, but choose your response. Emotions are not enemies, they are messengers. And once INTJs start viewing emotions through this lens, something incredible happens. The internal emotional fog clears. They become both rational and centered. Calm but not numb. Compassionate without being overwhelmed. Suddenly, emotional intelligence stops being an uncomfortable mystery and becomes something they can apply with intention. In daily life, INTJs often bump into situations that trigger frustration. People who don't think things through. People who waste time. People who say they'll do something and then forget. Stoicism trains the INTJ mind to detach from these triggers. Instead of wasting cognitive energy on disappointment, the INTJ learns to accept people as they are, not as they should be. This shift alone can dramatically improve their quality of life. When an INTJ no longer expects others to think in a straight line, they stop taking inefficiency personally. Without saying a word, they become more patient, more grounded, and more strategic in choosing where to invest their time. Even the Stoic idea of negative visualization, imagining worst-case scenarios to reduce their emotional impact, fits naturally into the INTJ psyche. INTJs already think about future outcomes. Stoicism simply gives them a healthier, structured way to do it. Instead of catastrophizing, they learn to prepare and then let go. They embrace uncertainty without drowning in it. This transforms the INTJ from a thinker trapped by anticipation into a strategist liberated by clarity. Historically, some of the most Stoic-like individuals embody the INTJ archetype almost perfectly. Marcus Aurelius, with his introspective discipline and rational leadership, feels like a spiritual ancestor to the INTJ mind. Seneca, with his analytical breakdowns of fear, fortune, and human behavior, speaks the language of someone who refuses to live an unexamined life. Even Epictetus, once a slave, built a mental fortress rooted in the principle that no one could imprison his mind. And while these men weren't aware of MBTI types, their mentality aligns stunningly well with what modern psychology attributes to INTJs. In fiction, characters like Bruce Wayne, Severus Snape, and even certain versions of Sherlock Holmes bridge the gap between INTJ logic and Stoic resilience. They stand firm in their principles, rarely show their emotional hand, and calculate their actions with precision. They feel deeply but express selectively. They take hits, emotionally, mentally, socially, and continue moving forward with quiet determination. These characters inspire INTJs not because of their stoicism alone, but because they show what it looks like to be emotionally intense and logically grounded at the same time. But it's essential to understand that stoicism isn't about being cold, and it isn't about rejecting joy. Stoicism teaches that joy comes from virtue, purpose, and self-command. This is an INTJ dream. When INTJs operate from alignment, living according to their values, pursuing what matters, eliminating what doesn't, they become unstoppable. Stoicism enhances this alignment. It teaches that external chaos cannot disrupt internal order unless you let it. It shows the INTJ how to anchor themselves in reason without losing their humanity. Let's talk about the INTJ emotional paradox more deeply. INTJs often struggle with emotional expression. They think before they feel, and when they finally do feel something, it's usually intense but delayed. This lag can confuse both themselves and others. Stoicism helps INTJs break this cycle. It encourages honest self-reflection, not the hyper-logical masking that INTJs tend to use. When a Stoic INTJ asks, "Why did this bother me?" or "Why am I reacting this way?" they're practicing something powerful: emotional ownership. Instead of suppressing feelings, they evaluate them. They observe themselves without judgment. And through that process, they grow. Another powerful Stoic tool is the discipline of perspective. INTJs naturally seek the big picture, but sometimes their perfectionism zooms in so much that they lose sight of what truly matters. They get stuck on flaws, inefficiencies, and minor setbacks. Stoicism reminds them to step back and see everything through a wider lens. Will this matter in a year? Does this impact my core values? Is this worth spending energy on? These questions prevent the INTJ from spiraling and redirect them toward what aligns with their long-term vision. Then there's the Stoic principle of voluntary discomfort, the idea of training your mind by doing hard things on purpose. INTJs love growth but often prefer growth through knowledge rather than experience. Stoicism encourages them to step into challenges, take risks, and intentionally build resilience. It doesn't mean self-punishment, it means practicing discomfort in controlled ways so when life throws chaos their way, they don't break. They bend, adapt, and outsmart it. This turns the INTJ from someone who avoids emotional discomfort into someone who actively strengthens themselves through it. One of the most life-changing Stoic ideas for INTJs is the concept of the inner citadel. This is the mental fortress you build through discipline, reflection, and self-awareness. INTJs already have the architecture for this citadel. Stoicism simply gives them the bricks. Each moment of patience, each act of emotional clarity, each decision to focus only on what matters adds another layer of strength to that inner structure. Over time, the INTJ becomes less reactive, more grounded, and more confident in their own ability to navigate any situation. Relationships, a topic INTJs often approach cautiously, transform under Stoicism. Instead of being frustrated by emotional unpredictability, the INTJ learns to apply empathy with boundaries. Stoicism teaches them that love is not attachment, and kindness is not weakness. It shows the INTJ that vulnerability doesn't threaten their independence, it enriches it. When they connect with others from a place of inner strength, they become more patient, more present, and less guarded. They stop expecting others to be versions of themselves and start appreciating people for who they are. The Stoic INTJ also becomes a master of emotional minimalism. They stop reacting to petty drama. They stop giving attention to people who drain them. They stop trying to fix what isn't theirs to fix. This doesn't make them distant, it makes them focused. They conserve energy for meaningful projects, meaningful relationships, and meaningful growth. Life becomes lighter, not because the world changes, but because the INTJ chooses what to carry. Another essential transformation is how the INTJ handles adversity. Stoicism reframes hardship as training. When a plan fails, a person disappoints them, or a goal takes longer than expected, the Stoic INTJ no longer sees it as failure. They see it as an opportunity to sharpen their resilience. They take the obstacle and use it. They pivot, adapt, and continue moving forward, sometimes in completely new directions they couldn't see before. This eliminates the INTJ's tendency to stagnate when things feel off-plan. Stoicism gives them flexibility without compromising their strategic nature. Over time, Stoicism helps the INTJ dissolve the inner pressure they place on themselves. INTJs often feel like they're racing against time, against expectations, against their own potential. Stoicism slows them down and reminds them that discipline is more important than speed. Progress is more valuable than perfection. Living according to one's principles matters more than achieving external markers of success. When the INTJ embraces this, they stop burning out. They stop doubting themselves. They stop measuring their worth by output alone. In the end, the true essence of the Stoic INTJ is not someone who suppresses emotion or lives coldly above the world. It is someone who has learned to be unshaken by chaos, untouched by pettiness, and unafraid of discomfort. Someone who moves through life with intention, clarity, and quiet power. Someone who chooses purpose over distraction, growth over comfort, and inner mastery over external validation. Stoicism doesn't change who the INTJ is. It reveals who they were always capable of becoming. So as you continue building your life, your vision, and your inner citadel, remember this. The world needs INTJs who are grounded, not guarded. Calm, not cold. Strong, not hardened. When an INTJ embraces Stoicism, they become something extraordinary. Not just a thinker, but a force. Not just a strategist, but a leader. Not just a mind, but a complete, centered human being. If you choose to walk this path, you're not just studying an ancient philosophy, you're stepping into your highest potential. The Stoic INTJ is the ultimate version of the architect personality, disciplined, resilient, wise, and undeniably powerful. If this video resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, which Stoic lesson hits home for you the most?